Hi, and welcome to Happy Fisherman Adventures.
I hope, I dream, I wish to catch a big fish, and I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman, and I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman.
First of all, we would like to apologize for missing our episode last week. We unfortunately had to go to work.
Yeah, actually with Geelong Marine, I had to take a Heinz-Hunter boat to Phillip Island and for some video shooting. Actually, we had beautiful 2 days over there, and we didn't fish, but we actually managed to get some great footage of real boat ramps. So we're going to get that to you because just to get more familiar and people that never been there to know what's going on there. And Paulet River, Kilkanda, which is one of my favorite surf fishing spots. So we're going to have that in next couple episodes for you guys as well.
It definitely is a great place to go and visit.
That's awesome.
Well, in today's episode, we got our friends Misha and Susie with us, and we are fishing for King George whiting and garfish in front of Swan Bay.
Well, we were chasing King George, and we had a great tip from my friend Brett Dennis. Thank you, Brett. And we looked for some broken ground. There were a few boats around, and it was came on very quick, and we started catching King George after King George, as you're going to see in the first video.
Let's watch the first video.
This is the start of another adventure with our friends. Today we had Misha and Susie with us, and the target fish was King George whiting just in front of Swan Bay. We left Clifton Springs about 10 o'clock, and that is about 25 kilometers from Clifton Springs to Swan Bay. As we got there, there was a few boats already in the area, and all I can say, as we casted, Misha already had a King George whiting on. Well, that was a good sign. So quickly we set up the rest of the rods, I tried to set up the cameras, and we were ready to go. It wasn't easy to set up the cameras because Misha and Mima were bringing fish after fish. It took a bit of time to set up the cameras and drop my Seaview gadget, my underwater camera, in, but we were happy because the action was on. Somehow we had a honey hole just in front of us about 10 meters, so Misha and Mima were casting in that spot, and they were very successful. The Tinganosta rig, or the running rig, whatever you want to call it, loaded with a bit of pilchard, and then just backed up with a bit of squid for actually second chance. It worked the best at the moment. The trick was to cast about 8-9 meters and lock the reel straight away. By the time the sinker hits the bottom, she already had tension and connection with the sinker and the hook. So first touch, she can feel it, she doesn't act on it. The second touch, once the whiting hits it, she obviously just hooks them up. And it doesn't need to be a big smack. It just drags it away from them and they actually get hooked. We've been using this technique for a while now, and we have been very successful. You can see in most of our videos, we never actually just get 5 rods, cast them, put them in the rod holder and wait for a hookup. We actually always work. Because of my live bait tank, there is not much room on this boat. So as you can see, Susie was out of the way, she was casting her Paternoster rig to the left, and she managed quite a few fish as well. Anyway, the action was crazy, but the Tinganosta, the Redis Tinganosta rig actually was a little bit more successful than Paternoster, and I would say 5-1. On my underwater gadget, all we could see is just Tommy Rough. We could not see one King George whiting, but we were catching him left, right and center.
As you saw in the first video, we were catching King George whiting left, right, and center. It went really crazy at some point, and we literally were pulling one after another. And all good size too.
Yeah, they were very nice fish. We were quite hungry. So we found a spot in front of the boat, and we were casting in the same spot. We were getting them like quite often, and still bit of pilchard and squid. Then, obviously, because we burled on the back of the boat, we started attracting some garfish. So the trick was we had some tuna leftovers. We put it in the back of the burley bucket. We had some fishy burley that we actually smashed. We put it obviously in oil, and we were crunching it at the back, and that dispersed some actually nice burley trial. And in no time there was garfish everywhere. Underwater, only Tommy Ruff. Still no sign of King George whiting. Saying that, we were still catching them left, right and center. This time they were quite nice size. Anything between 32 to 40 centimeters. I think we only had one or two that were about 27, 28 that had to go back, but all the rest were actually quite nice fish. At one stage, it felt that there was a competition going between Mima and Misha. I can say they were catching left, right and center, both of them, and they were not saying much, they weren't talking much, but fish was coming one after the other. Also, I had Susie's line casted in front, like 8 meters in front, and by all means, she was catching them straight away as well. That was definitely our honey hole for today. Then you can't go without one of these. Misha hooks up on very light rod a big banjo shark. We knew it's a banjo because they don't do much. They just sit there in the current and you have to just drag them up. So we dragged this one up, we unhooked it and we let it go. While all this was happening, on our sea view gadget we could see some garfish right on top. They were just under the surface, so Mima had to change the technique, so I quickly set up a rod for her with a small size 12 long shank hook, and then I put a small split rod sinker, just enough to drag her down, and that was it. No float, no nothing. Small piece of pilchard, and Bob's your sister. Well, in no time we had our first garfish. When it comes to garfish, Mima's actually a gun, because you do have to have patience for them and wait and try to hook them up, but today I have to tell you it was a different story. They were so hungry that every time she dropped the bait in the water, she had one on. For bait I would normally use tuna pieces, but because I put all the tuna, I had a piece of tuna that I put in a burley bucket and that attracted them to come close to the boat, so we didn't have any left. We used pilchard. And as you can see, even Susie was bringing them left, right and center. So they were not that big, but they were nice. Also, while Mima and Susie were plucking garfish like no tomorrow, the whiting stopped. It was actually total turn off. So there was no one whiting. Misha was trying and trying. We put a couple rods out, cast it in different spots and that. There was no chance we're gonna get another King George whiting. That didn't matter because we love eating garfish. Also, we went live on Facebook, so we actually talked to people and told them where we are, that we're catching actually garfish in this area, so if they're out here, to try for them, because as I say, King George whiting stopped. We had few, and some of nice size, as you can see here, there was a 40 centimeter whiting, but they stopped. They basically turned off, so we were happy catching garfish. We even had them in the doubles, so you can see smiles everywhere. Smiles will tell you the story, and it was too easy to catch them. Like normally we have to work hard and trick them, but today they were hungry. We were just plucking them, so we loved it. Then pretty quick the weather turned, so we had to pack up and run. All in all, we had enough fish for dinner, so we were more than happy. When we got closer to Clifton Springs, we put the King George whiting in a skylar bags just to make life easy, and then that was it. Chiquita was ready to go home.
As you could see, the burley attracted the garfish, and we started getting one after the other. They were really hungry. We used a very small hook with a split-shot sinker and tiny pieces of pilchard. By the time I dropped it down, the current would take it away for a few meters. The fish was already on.
Yeah, a few meters away from the boat, but it was only about half a meter under the surface.
Yes.
So it never sank. And if it does go lower, obviously you're going to get yuccas and slimy mackerel. In this situation, we had heaps of Tommy Rahs. So, but it was funny because we didn't have to work hard for them. No. Normally they're fiddly and we have to work hard to get some. This time they were cooking themselves.
They were really hungry and they were nice size too.
Beautiful size. And they're my favorite to eat. So unfortunately the weather changed, so we have to pack up. And once we packed up, go home, Misha got the owner to clean the fish. And I was washing
to wash the boat.
Yeah, of course. And then we cooked some beautiful garfish, and that was amazing. When we got home, I washed the boat, and Misha volunteered to actually clean the garfish and King George whiting. One thing with garfish, obviously you take the skulls off, but once you get to the stomach and want to clean, use a toothbrush, because all the black lining in that toothbrush is the best to clean it. Also, because we were eating it today, rinsing it with fresh water was okay. But if I would freeze it, I would not use fresh water. It would have to be all salt water. And here we go, the final product.
The next adventure is a recent adventure with TB, Ovi and Will. They went offshore chasing tuna.
Yes, we went offshore chasing tuna. We did quite a few miles. We went obviously out of Barwon Heads. We went up to 80 meters depth. We couldn't see any. We seen birds, heaps of birds, and that there
and
was
dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah, but there was no tuna around. So somehow the tuna moved. I know Portland's catching them at the moment, but anyway, we came back bottom bashing. We got some pinkies, we got some barber perch, we got some slimy mackerel, like big slimy mackerel, and all sorts of fish.
Well, let's watch the next video.
An absolute gorgeous morning on Barwon River. We could not ask for better weather than this. Just magnificent. I mentioned before, and I'm gonna say it again, we normally navigate here in the middle of the tide, so we don't have to worry about the height of the bridge. Also remember, this river is actually worse on low tide. You will hit your skeg, you may break your prop, so guys, be mindful. There was not much of a bath today as the weather was perfect, but this can be scary sometime, and I can tell you firsthand. I went through it and it wasn't comfortable. Our mission was tuna, so we were traveling looking for a sign of life or anything, birds, anything. We saw dolphins, we saw everything, but we couldn't mark up a tuna. We went in 80 meters depth and we were not really successful. At one stage, we saw heaps and heaps of birds all around. So, of course, we'll set up all the roads, we were circling around them a few times and all that stuff, but we could not see tuna underneath. In this particular area, we saw so many patches of birds that it was ridiculous, but underneath them, bitefish only. No one sign that there is tuna around. So we did try hard, and after a while, I think it was time to give up. By about 10 o'clock, we were already on the way to do some bottom bashing. And first, we're gonna do some scanning for kingfish. When we got at the wrecks where we normally get the kingfish, there was quite a few boats around. Even my friend Marco from Sharkman Charters, he was doing his best just to please his customers. But unfortunately, not even kingfish was out. So this time I decided let's get the light gear out and just have some fun with anything. At first we were onto slimy mackerel, and they were big and they were fun. Fun to catch on light gear, they're beautiful fish to catch. Then as we drifted a little bit further, we were on a patch of barber perch. This fish, it was everywhere. I think at one stage it was raining barber perch. One fact about the barber perch, you cannot really release them safely because the barometric trauma and they just can't swim back in. Saying that, they are beautiful fish to eat. You can have 5 per person. They're not that big, they're small fish, but they are tasty. Then we drifted another few hundred meters, and this time we were catching flathead, and they were quite nice size too. But Ovi decided to let his one go. Just to make things clear, we didn't have the net ready, so I kinda slingshot my flathead and he fell in the boat. Ovi was holding his, but because he was holding the head out of the water, he just shook off and he was gone. On the other side of the boat, Will was in his element. He was catching slimy mackerel and enjoying every moment of it. This slimy mackerel actually was nice size, and on the light gear they're giving you a bit of a pepper. And also he managed to get a red mullet, or a barbooni as it's called in Europe.
Well, as you saw, there were slimy mackerels everywhere.
Yeah, they were actually big. Slimy was just amazing. But we tried, obviously that was the reef in between the two wrecks in front of the reef. And normally that's where we target kingfish, but there was no sign of kingfish. So we end up going now, in the next video, you're going to see closer to Barwon Heads in 40 meters of water. And just about similar situation, but this time we got some more pinkies as well.
Let's watch the next video.
Sometimes it's not about the big fish, it's about having fun. And we were having fun with small fish left, right and center. On the light gear, they're just awesome to catch. But just be careful. Here we're wearing life jackets because we are inside the 3 nautical miles from the reef. So you must have the jacket, otherwise if water police catch you, it can be an expensive trip. As you can see, so far we were drifting and we were getting different species. At this stage we actually end up getting some Sergeant Baker, and just before that we were getting flathead, and before that we were getting barber perch. Then after this we start getting barber perch again, but there was no sign of kingfish. We did try hard, other boats around they all tried hard, but there was unsuccessful session on kingfish. So we spent a little bit more time here before we decided that we should move. Few other people were around and we had a chat, and yeah, they were unsuccessful on kingfish as well. They did get some slimy mackerel and bits and pieces, but there is no kingfish around. At this stage, our decision was to go in front of Barwon River in 50 meter depth, start drifting and see what we can get. As we got there, the usual, we start getting slimy mackerel, and some of them was massive. Then finally something different. Now this one felt a bit funny, obviously because of the light road, so I said to Ovi, grab the net. Well, it was only a small pinky, still, size, it was about 35-36 centimeters, but nothing to brag about it. I was hoping this area will produce some gummy sharks. So we had the big rods down, we had everything possible, fresh, obviously slimy mackerel, fresh yuccas from the other day that I caught, but there was no gummy sharks around. But at this stage we were still catching something. And as usual, there he goes. Sergeant Baker and another pinky. Somehow this area started producing pinky after pinky, but there was not many keepers. They were small fish. It was fun to catch them on light rod, but unfortunately not many to take home. Also, wrasse. Don't forget, this area does have lots and lots of wrasse. The blue-throat wrasse, when it's fresh, actually it's nice to eat. But these ones, they were very small, so it was time to pack up and go back in. All in all, we were very happy just to be out there.
Well, where's the fish? All I can say, squid finally started showing up just about everywhere. They're in St. Leonard's, Mud Island, Clifton Springs, Prince George, Portsea, Rosebud, Queenscliff.
Basically all around.
Yeah, just about everywhere.
Same with King George. The King George started to show up now from Clifton Springs all the way past the Swan Bay, Queenscliff. Queenscliff, remember, incoming tide. Big tides, like we got some big tides coming every morning now. When the incoming tide comes in, brings some dirty water from the bay when it's quite a big swell outside. When that thing comes, you can fish in front of Cottage by the Sea there at Queenscliff. Do not fish it on outgoing tide because outgoing tide hits the Pilot Pier or whatever, hits that reef, and the water goes in. So it's missing that part and you don't get tidal movement. So if you want to fish Queenscliff for King George whiting, fish on incoming tide and look for big tides and big swell outside. Other than that, Portland. Portland's gone crazy. All the charters, Sharkman Charter, there is Matthew Hunt, they're all there now. They're all fishing for tuna and that. Tuna's a bit more towards Julia Percy. Mm-hmm. Soon's going to go behind the Lawrence Rock. I would suggest actually, if you're going to go this weekend, go Port Fairy. From Port Fairy, if you go in 40 meters of water, just start looking towards the island. Yeah. And just start, we've seen some amazing results. Another thing that we've seen, inland. And the inland, we're looking at Lake Permbit. Chris sent us some pictures of amazing big redfin that is getting on soft plastics. Jerry and the boys, they went up, Murray River. They got some beautiful cod, Murray cod. So it is time. I mean, I like this time of the year because it's getting a little bit cold. So if you go Murray River, there's not many snakes around. So this is the time when it's actually awesome to go to Murray River, put some fire and, while you're doing a barbie, catch some cod. Other than that, Western Port, as usual. Brett Reed's again, catching King George whiting everywhere. So it's middle speed, silver leaves. But anyway, thanks to all the guys that sending us actually photos and telling us where they're catching fish because, it's not knowledge unless you share it. Well, thank you all for your support. Guys that purchased our t-shirt, our jumpers, hoodies. We got a few left on our website. You can come and see me at Geelong Marine World. I'll have a few there. Saying that, with Geelong Marine World, I'm going to have the first 620R. So Heinz Hunter 620R, the prototype. Actually, I'm getting to break it in, to test it and give my honest opinion. So we're going to film it and we're going to put it on the show as well. I'm looking forward to this one. Well, you know what? We've been in a lot of boats. We're looking for stability. We're looking for comfort. We're looking for make sure that we can run when it's actually nasty weather. So let's see how we go. Well, once again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and we will see you next time.
I hope, I dream, I wish to catch a big fish. And I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman. And I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman.